Hey guys, Professor Bill, Comic Book University, and Brave and the Bold 6-issue limited series with Wonder Woman and Batman. Alright, again, one of the most beautiful comics out there. Period. That was true, period. I'd end the video right there. The point is, man, this gorgeous comic book, man. The story is going to be extremely convoluted. If you understand what happened at the end of this, you're probably more confused. I don't think this was meant to have a full explanation about the end. Really, and I guess the best way to do that was exactly how they did it. Basically, just everything starts to fall apart. Baylor One Eye comes back, and he's going head-to-head against the recently resurrected-ish King McCool. There's a part in here where the Dark Knight comes in, and this is a really weird image, man. I don't fully understand exactly what's happening here. Like, Batman shows, I don't know what they're seeing here. You know what I'm saying? Like, these are just headlights, apparently. Maybe it's the car. I don't know. Anyway, these are just lights. That's all that is. But Batman released a lot of sleeping gas out into the world. Now, I don't know what's up with all these Furbolg who are out of it. But the regular human-looking type creatures, a bunch of them fell out onto the streets of Gotham once that gateway was open. So they've been detained momentarily, but they're going to be slowly released into society. After all, they were all captives, and they had to capture themselves. They had to entrap themselves within Terra because of Baylor One Eye. So now that so these guys were able to escape, but the door was closed again behind them. So these guys have to be reintegrated into society. And mind you, as long as they've been captured, that time is multiplied, all right, many times over, because in Terra time goes by a lot faster, as in a whole lot faster. So I think one of the most messed up parts here is that Cernunnos is killed. When I say he's killed, this could have been more dramatic. This was a little bit sad to me. This could have been done better, I think. It could have had more meaning. Just having Wonder Woman say, Cernunnos, no, not you. It was okay. It showed Diana's, problem, but it didn't really resonate to me why that was so important. He was just this guy who wanted to have orgies and, yeah, that's the thing I remember most about him in this. And he was considered wise, although there weren't too many reasons why he was considered wise. Now he comes back, all right? He comes back, he's reborn as an infant child. And it's beautiful. Again, beautiful art, absolutely beautiful art. Now, the remaining people of Terra have to wait until Cernunnos is of age again so that he could talk. That could be in, 4 months. That could be like the next day. But, because time moves so much differently there. But since he's like basically their chief storyteller, it's hard for them to move on without him. This is really weird, man. Anyway, Baylor gets defeated because Wonder Woman punches him in the eye. I don't know if his eye is permanently shut. It looks like it. It looks like it's permanently shut. Well, at least it's shut for now, which is going to it should drastically reduce his powers. In another way, it should make him more, I don't know, it could do other things because he's limited by what he can do, because when he appears and looks at you full on, you die. He's basically got the evil eye, right? But now that eye is shut, we could see if maybe he has more subtle manipulative powers now. He's always been a good talker. He's been one heck of a talker. So we'll see what happens there. The way that Wonder Woman defeated him was a little questionable. It was like, oh, they're obviously pressed for time. They weren't able to fit it in the other 5 issues. That was a little annoying. But honestly, I kind of expected that. That's not a good thing that I expected it. It's just I was kind of able to brace for it. What usually happens in books where it feels like they're stretching out the story, the final issue usually kind of packs a lot into it. That's just timing. You know, saying it is what it is. And I'm not suggesting that I could do it better. I'm simply recognizing that's what typically happens when I'm reading comic books. They pack too much in the final issue because they stretched out too much in the beginning. Pacing, dude. But one of the best parts that I saw about this comic is that it says that this is the end of book 1. That's got to be the best way to look at this, is that the story isn't finished being told yet. Man, this is a gorgeous comic book, dude. Shoot, do I really have to find all the people who are responsible for this now? Liam Sharp was the, whatever, I'm not going to hunt for this. DC's got a real issue with finding, with displaying who did the stuff. It's like you got to like hunt all over the place for the title credits and all that. Anyway, Liam Sharp is the guy who did almost everything in here, but colors were done by Fajardo Jr. I'm not going to look up his first name. Sorry. You guys need to make this more evident. Anyhow, I definitely did enjoy this series. Not a single one of these books can be read on its own. No two books can be read on their own. You have to be able to read the whole entire thing. And it's not just suspension of disbelief, which is a situation with most comic books. This is more along the ideals of, this is a mythology that the vast majority of people have no familiarity with. You know what I'm saying? It would be like, I think that more people know at least a little bit about Japanese mythology and the idea that the islands of Japan were created by, I think it was Hachiman, you know, cutting with his sword, you know, a swath, and like, oh, that's the stuff that was, or after they put his sword in the sea to cool it down when it was forged, and when he lifted it, the remaining hot spots, that's what formed the islands of Japan. You know, something along those lines. What do you call it? There's so many mythologies out there that it's hard to really get a grasp on all of them. And I think that probably one of the least known, and that's because it's one of the most confusing, would be Irish folklore, Irish mythology. It's one of the reasons why the folklore is more popular than the actual stories themselves. The idea of, you know, oh, leprechauns walking around, stuff like that. You know, like that's an easy thing to understand, but the complicated history of their stories, you got to remember, with the Irish mythologies, much like the Norse mythologies, they're rooted in the idea that these are actually real families who existed, real dynasties that existed in their regions. So real people, real families, and the mythology sprung up afterwards about them. And then there was stories, fantastic fables interwoven around them. With the, like, for me, it's so much easier with the Norse mythology because the mythologies themselves are more interesting. They're easier to digest. It's more like, oh, here's little bits of this and this and this. So you can, here, just read this. Do you understand that? Cool. How about try this? Do you like that one? All right, cool. Here's another one. And you keep getting pieces of the mythology. Yes, they do technically go in orders, but they're more digestible in those regards. But you can look at it and just say, oh, clearly the Aesir was a family that existed in this region prior, and then all of a sudden the Asgardians came along, and now they took over. They were in charge of this family, and the people of Alfheim were another family, and then all of these people were made into like the Vanir, the gods themselves, and the elves, and all these different families. It's easy to see that. With the Irish mythologies, it's almost the exact same thing, but it's much more difficult to actually take chunks out of the history and therefore the mythology and to take them into smaller digestible bites. So you literally have to go in and just take a chunk, and hope that you remember what happened before, because it's a continuous story. You know, when you read the Bible and things like that, you could break them up into different books, different chapters like that, different verses, you know, like that. With the Irish mythology, it's more like, here you go. Hope you're well rested, you know? So this is much more difficult to take a grasp of what's being read here. But I am looking forward to the next the next book, the next chapter. So Brave and the Bold, Batman and Wonder Woman 2. In fact, will it actually feature Batman in it? Maybe. Will it feature Wonder Woman in it? Maybe. I'd be interested in seeing somebody else join it because Wonder Woman seems to be trapped in Ternanog right now. What? So definitely an Elseworlds-esque comic book. This was enjoyable, and this seems like it's going to have some serious lasting consequences if anybody chooses to follow it, at least, to follow up on it, at least. Like, there's people from a mythological world right now in, finally free at last, in Ireland, in Gotham City, the Irish Quarter. That's crazy. For once, Batman can't just say, people weren't supposed to be here. Lock them up in Blackgate or lock them up in Arkham, We actually have to reintegrate these people in society. They're going to be more difficult to get along because they're used to a much more warlike land where peace is held over your head like a sword, There's so much that and like I said, they still have to go back and rescue Wonder Woman, and they have to wait until Cernunnos is old enough to actually make sense of these stories again. There's so much here that can be broken down, so much that can be done in the future, and I can't wait to see what they're going to do next with this. Really looking forward to that. All right, guys. Professor Bill, Comic Book University. Class dismissed.